1. Introduction to Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a mental health condition that can develop after experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. It is a complex disorder that affects individuals differently, causing a range of distressing symptoms and disrupting various aspects of their lives. Understanding the symptoms and causes of PTSD is crucial in order to provide appropriate support and treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Symptoms and causes are those affected. This article aims to explore the symptoms, causes, and available treatments for PTSD, as well as provide insights into coping strategies and support resources for individuals dealing with this debilitating condition. 1. Introduction to Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, PTSD. Defining post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Picture this. You're watching a movie when suddenly a loud bang startles you. Your heart races. Your palms get sweaty. And you feel an overwhelming sense of fear. Now, imagine experiencing that level of fear and anxiety on a daily basis, even when there's no immediate danger present. That's what it's like for people living with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. PTSD is a mental health condition that can develop after experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. It can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, or background. The symptoms can be debilitating, making it difficult for individuals to go about their normal lives. The prevalence of PTSD. Contrary to what some might think, PTSD is not a rare condition. In fact, it is estimated that about 7 to 8% of the population will experience PTSD at some point in their lives. That's a staggering number considering the impact it can have on individuals and their loved ones. While PTSD is commonly associated with military veterans, it can be triggered by a wide range of traumatic events, such as car accidents, natural disasters, physical or sexual assault, or even the sudden death of a loved one. The impact of PTSD on daily life. Living with PTSD can be incredibly challenging. It's like having a constant companion that fills your mind with intrusive thoughts, nightmares, and vivid flashbacks. These symptoms can make it difficult to concentrate, manage emotions, and maintain healthy relationships. Simply put, PTSD can turn your world upside down. But it's important to remember that there is hope. With proper treatment and support, individuals with PTSD can learn to manage their symptoms and regain control over their lives. So, if you or someone you know is struggling with PTSD, know that you are not alone, and help is available. 2. Understanding the symptoms of PTSD. Re-experiencing symptoms of PTSD. Imagine if every time you closed your eyes, you were transported back to the traumatic event that haunts you. That's what re-experiencing symptoms of PTSD can feel like. People with PTSD may have intrusive memories, flashbacks, or nightmares that vividly recreate the traumatic event. These flashbacks can be triggered by anything that reminds them of the trauma, leading to intense distress and anxiety. Avoidance and numbing symptoms of PTSD. When the pain of the past becomes too overwhelming, it's natural to want to avoid anything that reminds you of the trauma. People with PTSD often develop avoidance behaviors, steering clear of situations, places, or people that may trigger distressing memories. They may also numb themselves emotionally, feeling detached from others or losing interest in activities they once enjoyed. Hyperarousal symptoms of PTSD. Living in a constant state of hyperarousal is like having your internal alarm system permanently switched on. People with PTSD may experience hypervigilance, always being on high alert for potential danger. This state of hyperarousal can lead to irritability, difficulty sleeping, and trouble concentrating. It's like living in a perpetual fight or flight mode. 3. Traumatic events and causes of PTSD. Types of traumatic events that can lead to PTSD. Traumatic events come in many forms, each capable of leaving a lasting impact. Whether it's surviving a natural disaster, being a victim of violence, or experiencing the horrors of war, any event that causes extreme fear, helplessness, or horror can potentially lead to PTSD. Understanding how trauma affects the brain. When we experience a traumatic event, our brains undergo significant changes. The stress response system becomes hypersensitive, constantly on the lookout for potential threats. The areas of the brain responsible for memory and emotion also undergo alterations, making traumatic memories more vivid and intense. These changes contribute to the development of PTSD symptoms. The role of genetics in predisposition to PTSD. While trauma is the primary trigger for PTSD, genetics also play a role in determining an individual's vulnerability to the disorder. Some people may have a genetic predisposition that makes them more susceptible to developing PTSD after a traumatic event. However, it's important to note that genetics alone are not the sole cause of PTSD, and environmental factors also play a significant role. 4. Psychological and physiological effects of PTSD. The impact of PTSD on mental health. Living with PTSD can take a toll on mental health. The constant stress and anxiety can lead to the development of other mental health conditions, such as depression, anxiety disorders, or substance abuse. It's a challenging cycle to break, as these conditions often exacerbate the symptoms of PTSD, further impacting an individual's well-being. Physical health consequences of PTSD. The effects of PTSD are not limited to mental health alone. Research has shown a link between PTSD and various physical health conditions. Individuals with PTSD may experience an increased risk of cardiovascular problems, gastrointestinal issues, chronic pain, and autoimmune disorders. The chronic stress associated with PTSD can have a profound impact on the body's overall functioning. Sleep disturbances and PTSD. Sleep disturbances are a common occurrence among individuals with PTSD. Nightmares and vivid dreams can disrupt sleep patterns, leading to insomnia, fragmented sleep, and frequent awakenings. The lack of restorative sleep can further exacerbate the symptoms of PTSD, making it difficult for individuals to find respite from their distressing thoughts and memories. Sleep becomes yet another battle to conquer in the war against PTSD. In conclusion, PTSD is a complex and often debilitating condition that can stem from various traumatic events. It impacts not only mental health but also physical well-being. Understanding the symptoms and causes of PTSD is crucial for providing support and guidance to those affected by this condition. Remember, seeking help is not a sign of weakness but a brave step towards healing and reclaiming one's life. 5. Risk factors and vulnerability to PTSD. Pre-existing mental health conditions and vulnerability to PTSD. When it comes to PTSD, having a pre-existing mental health condition is like wearing a kick-me sign for trauma. Conditions like depression or anxiety can increase your vulnerability to developing PTSD after a traumatic event. It's like your mind is already primed for a meltdown, and trauma just adds fuel to the fire. Individual factors that enhance the risk of developing PTSD. While everyone is different, certain individual factors can make you more susceptible to PTSD. If you've been through previous traumatic experiences, because apparently life just loves throwing curveballs. Or if you struggle with low self-esteem or a tendency to catastrophize. Your risk of developing PTSD is like a game of Jenga waiting to topple over. Social support and resilience as protective factors. If life were a video game, social support and resilience would be the ultimate power UPS against PTSD. Having a solid support network of friends, family, or even a group of fellow trauma survivors can make all the difference in your recovery. Plus, having a resilient mindset can help you bounce back quicker, like a rubber band that refuses to break. 6. Diagnosing and assessing PTSD. Criteria for diagnosing PTSD. Diagnosing PTSD is like solving a puzzle. But instead of fitting together pretty landscape scenes, you're piecing together traumatic experiences. To be diagnosed with PTSD, you need to experience symptoms like intrusive memories, nightmares, and a general sense of unease for more than a month. It's like your brain is stuck on a traumatic loop. And it's definitely not the kind of roller coaster you want to ride. Assessment tools and questionnaires for evaluating PTSD. To diagnose PTSD, doctors may throw some assessment tools and questionnaires your way. These tests are like a mental health version of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? But with less math and more questions about your trauma. The results can help professionals understand the severity of your symptoms and choose the best way to support your recovery. The role of healthcare professionals in diagnosing PTSD. As much as we wish we could self-diagnose everything with a quick Google search, diagnosing PTSD requires the expertise of healthcare professionals. These heroes in lab coats are trained to spot the signs, ask the right questions, and guide you through the process. So, save the WebMD diagnosis for your common cold and let the pros handle the heavy mental stuff. 7. Treatment options for PTSD. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for PTSD. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is like the Swiss Army knife of PTSD. Treatment. It helps you identify and change negative thought patterns and behaviors that keep you stuck in a traumatic loop. It's like rewiring your brain to think more positively, but without the need for actual wires. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, is like the magic trick of PTSD treatment. By recalling traumatic memories while focusing on external stimuli, like eye movements or hand taps, it aims to reduce the intensity of those memories. It's like turning down the volume on your brain's horror movie soundtrack. Medications and pharmacotherapy for PTSD. Sometimes, therapy needs a sidekick. And that's where medications come in. Doctors might prescribe antidepressants or other medications to help manage symptoms like anxiety or nightmares. It's like having a trusty sidekick to fight off the bad guys in your brain. 8. Coping strategies and support for individuals with PTSD. Self-help techniques for managing PTSD symptoms. Managing PTSD is like being a detective, constantly searching for clues to unravel the mystery of your symptoms. Self-help techniques, like deep breathing exercises or journaling, can be your trusty sidekicks on this journey. They give you the power to regain control when PTSD tries to take the wheel. Social support networks and PTSD. Having a support network when dealing with PTSD is like having friends who bring ice cream when you're feeling down. They're there to listen, to offer a shoulder to cry on, and to remind you that you're not alone in this battle. So gather your squad and let them help you kick PTSD's butt. Professional resources and support organizations for PTSD. Finding professional resources and support organizations for PTSD is like discovering a hidden treasure map amidst chaos. They can provide you with valuable guidance, resources, and a community of people who get it. Consider them your partners in the fight against PTSD, ready to offer a helping hand whenever you need it. In conclusion, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a serious condition that requires attention and understanding. By recognizing the symptoms, understanding the underlying causes, and seeking appropriate treatment, individuals with PTSD can find relief and regain control over their lives. It is important for both individuals and society as a whole to provide support, compassion, and resources to those affected by PTSD. With continued research and awareness, we can strive to create a more compassionate and inclusive environment for individuals living with PTSD. FAQ 1. What are the common triggers for PTSD symptoms? Triggers for PTSD symptoms can vary among individuals, but common triggers include reminders of the traumatic event such as certain sounds, smells, or situations that resemble the original trauma. Additionally, anniversaries or specific dates related to the traumatic event can also act as triggers. 2. Can children develop PTSD? Yes. Children can develop PTSD. They may experience symptoms similar to adults, such as nightmares, flashbacks, and avoidance behaviors. However, children may also exhibit symptoms specific to their age, such as regression in behavior, difficulty sleeping, separation anxiety, or aggressive behavior. 3. Can PTSD be cured? While there is no definitive cure for PTSD, it can be effectively managed and treated. With the right support, therapy, and coping strategies, individuals with PTSD can experience a significant reduction in symptoms and improve their overall quality of life. 4. Are there any self-help techniques that can alleviate PTSD symptoms? Yes. There are several self-help techniques that can help manage PTSD symptoms. These include deep breathing exercises, mindfulness and meditation practices, regular physical exercise, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and engaging in activities that promote relaxation and stress reduction. However, it is important to seek professional help and guidance for a comprehensive treatment plan.